This is a role play called The People versus Columbus. In this case, the indictment is against the role of the system of the empire. So the empire is charged with the mistreatment and murder of thousands, perhaps millions, of Taino Indians. This gets complicated. You are not a person, but a system. We like to blame crimes on people, but in this case, the real criminal is not human. True, Columbus's men did the killing. Columbus gave the orders, and King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella paid the bills and took the profits. But what made them behave the way they did? Were they born evil and greedy? The real blame lies with a system that values property over people. European society was so organized so that an individual had to own property to feel secure. The more property one owned, the more security, the more control over one's destiny. There was no security without private ownership of property. If you were poor, you could starve. The Tainos were not perfect, but they had no poor and no one starved. Indians commented that Europeans' love of gold was like a disease. In fact, this attitude was a product of a disease system. In order to get more wealth, Columbus and his men took Tainos as slaves, terrorized them into searching out gold, and forced them to work on their farms and in their mines. They justified all this by telling themselves that the Tainos weren't Christian, so we can control their land and labor. The European system saw only white Christians as full human beings. It was life in a system that valued private property, especially gold, and approved of violence against foreigners and non-Christians to get it, that made Columbus and his men enslave and kill. Sane people do not kill hundreds of thousands of other human beings. It was a rotten, insane system that led Columbus and the others to behave the way they did. You, as the representatives of this system, are guilty of the genocide committed against Tainos. As a final test to see who is guilty for the mass murder of the Tainos, ask yourself these questions. If it had been some other explorer besides Columbus to discover America, would he have let the Tainos keep their land? Would he not have enslaved people? Would he not have made them search for gold and work in the mines? You know the answer. Any European conqueror would have been every bit as bad as Columbus. Why? Because the system of empire was to blame, not any particular individual.